So at this point in my life, I've applied for about 4 different airlines, and I've thus far been rejected in all of them. Today, I will be talking about my experience in applying for the airline Etihad and how that experience has been. Now, if you are interested in knowing more about details on what to wear, because obviously I didn't wear anything like this when I applied, when I was interviewed, I highly suggest that you check out either my PAL video or my Cebu Pacific video, because I do go into detail with that. If you're more concerned about like CVs, I'm pretty sure I talked more about it in my Emirates video. So if those are kind of things that you're concerned about, definitely go give that a check out, because I'm pretty sure I talk about it more there. I'm not sure, it's been a while. Okay, that being said, let's dive into the video at hand and talk about what it has been like for me to apply for Etihad. As I've mentioned, I've thus far applied to 4 different airlines, this being the 4th, and in full transparency, Etihad is the longest to reply. Out of all of them, it took me about a year, 2 years to get a response? Yeah, because it's 2025, and it says here the first time I applied was November 28, 2023. So it's a long time coming, which is why I think my reaction towards Etihad is a lot more intense compared to the rest. So starting from the beginning, I basically was still in college when I applied. I was waiting. I was doing my graduation processes, Basically just went to their website, created a profile, uploaded my CV, and it was my original colorful CV. I've thus far updated my CV. After that, I waited. At this point, I had a response from Emirates, and I also think I applied to other airlines that I can't really think of at the top of my head. I would then be checking my email every day in hopes that I would get a response from Etihad, because Emirates, if I'm not mistaken, if you apply on their website, they will reply at least 72 hours, and you can give them a follow-up response, and then they'll respond with either, hey, we want you, or hey, we don't want you. And at this point, I had gotten the hey, I don't want you response from Emirates. But yeah, again, if you want to know more about that, it's not that simple. So go ahead and watch that video so that you can understand what I actually went through. But anyway, in Etihad, it was November, December, January when I received a survey. And in this survey, it was basically asking if you were still interested, would you still want to apply, And I basically was like, oh my gosh, yeah. So I sent in my survey response, and then a few days later, I got a email response to make a video assessment. This is one of the unique things about Etihad, because for Emirates, I didn't go through an online processing, nor did I go through an online processing for Cebu Pacific or PAL. So everything was online. They basically ask you a couple questions. I don't remember the questions, unfortunately. I think one of them is, what's the most important thing about flying, or something like that. It's just obviously customer oriented or aviation oriented questions. So if you are wanting to know how to answer that, my answer was safety, because that's what was popping up when you did research. But definitely answer what you think is correct, okay? But anyway, might be beneficial for you to know that my answer got me a follow-up email after 5 months. So just to reiterate, November I applied. January they replied if I was still interested. I gave them my video assessment the same month, and then they respond in May. So May, they come up with hey, we saw your video, we would like to process you whenever we're available in your area. And I was like, okay, great. And yeah, that was that. Up until January of 2025. I got a virtual assessment invitation wherein they were like, hey, we want to interview you, we want to do this with you. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was so shocked that they had replied. I had obviously assumed that they were no longer interested, because who the heck waits an entire year to respond to employment? That's crazy. I had like already kind of processed that I would never get into aviation ever again. And to be honest, when I initially got the email, I was like, oh, but I don't want to do aviation anymore. Oh, but this and blah, 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 blah. Then I kind of gave myself a moment to like process, hey, this is why I wanted to go into aviation. This is why I wanted to be a flight attendant. Da, 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 da. And then I got excited again. And then I did the final steps in that virtual assessment, which is basically just take a photograph of yourself full body in a business attire and a casual attire. It was specifically stated not to be taken in a professional studio. So I took photos of myself in my in my room, which wasn't like very good, but that's what they wanted, so that's what I did. And I made an appointment to do a virtual assessment, and now we're here. That was yesterday. So I picked the earliest assessment that I could have, which was again yesterday. And what it entailed was fundamentally being oriented by the recruiters. We had about 4 or 5 recruiters present in the conference, and in total for my batch there were 25 people, I think 25 more or less people that were going to be interviewed, because maybe it was just 20 because like again there were other recruiters in the room, and yeah, they were from different parts of the world, and I was very like amazed by it. I was like, oh, this is great. Like Etihad is such a global institution, it's gonna be great. I was just really excited. I was like, hey, I'm finally here. It took a year, but you know, things happen for a reason. You know, as a Christian, I had been praying about this, and I got like a confirmation from God that I would be having like an Esther blessing, where Esther like submitted herself to like the wise person, to like the person that was supposed to like pick out the brides for the king. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what I have to do with the Lord, you know. I have to just be like Esther and submit myself to the wisdom of God, because I am limited and I don't know what's best for me, even if I think that. So I had received that confirmation from God like 2 days prior to the interview. So I was just expecting a lot of really good things, and I did experience a lot of good things. All of the people there were so kind. All of the fellow applicants that I had were so bright and so fun, and I wanted to talk to them, but I was like, it's hard to kind of like talk to people online, and I was like, I don't want to like I don't want to over talk, or no, like talk over people. So yeah, I was just kind of like chilling, and basically what happened when the interview started, we were oriented, we were asked a couple things about Etihad, and we were basically just inspected to see if we had scars or if we had tattoos that were not unspoken for. And apart from that confirmation, because they're also going to confirm like the details that you have in your resume, I was asked what my experience was, and in the moment, I kind of knew it was coming, and yet I feel like perhaps in hindsight, when I'm looking back at it, I was a bit like nervous. I was like maybe overexcited actually. I was like, yeah, I have 2 experiences, one from when I was a working student and one now, but I didn't really clarify any of the skills or any of the tasks that I did. I mostly just talk about how I felt as a person, how I'm a people person, and after that I was told, okay, that's great, and I will be getting a response 12 p.m. UAE time. So I was waiting and waiting and waiting. By the time it was 12 p.m. UAE time, I still hadn't had a response, and I was just like trying not to think about it too much, and then I had to go to work, and then I figured I probably didn't get in if it's taking this long, and they said that they would interview us again the same day, and I was like, oh gosh, probably not getting in. But I was still thinking good thoughts, happy thoughts, until eventually I got the rejection email and they were like, yeah, you should have just reapply 6 months from now. At this point, I'm kind of like, I feel like perhaps I'm not meant for the aviation industry just because I've been rejected so many times. I would like to say that I'm not discouraged, but maybe I am. I'm trying to just let myself be disappointed and sad, because there's nothing wrong with that. It's something that I've learned to navigate, and I'm trying to learn to navigate as an adult, because there's always like, oh, don't be sad, just be happy, think happy thoughts. But it's actually important to process grief, as I talk about it in my other video. I'm just letting myself process this experience, especially because it was very unexpected. I really hadn't thought of Etihad in a long time, and obviously I'm very, very, very grateful. I'm very fortunate to have gotten this far, and the interviewer herself said that, hey, don't be so discouraged. If you got this far, that means we see something in you. It's just that you need a little bit more. You need a little shimmy. And I feel like they say that they're not gonna give feedback, and I expected that. And I feel like perhaps when I applied to Emirates that I probably didn't get in because I didn't have experience. I didn't have customer experience, and I feel like maybe I do have the customer experience that they're looking for. It's just that I wasn't able to explain it. I talked too much about personal feelings rather than, hey, I actually know how to use passive voice and this and this and this, because I was too excited, and I was hey, no matter what I would do, it would be fine, because this is the promise. I was given a confirmation from God that I will be having an Esther blessing. And you may be wondering, oh, does your God not want you to be blessed? No, he does. I feel like this is just further confirmation that I'm probably not meant for this industry, because I've kind of mulled over it, and I'm kind of thinking, would I be able to do that? Be trapped in I've never been on an airplane, by the way. Would I be able to stomach it literally, because I get motion sick and I can't do well. I don't do well with I don't do well with canned smells, the smells of air freshener, the smells of this and that. I don't actually know if I could do it. So I kind of made peace with it when I applied to Emirates, that this isn't for me. But then Etihad came around, and I was like, oh, maybe it is for me. And then I convinced myself that it was, and then it wasn't. And so yeah, I'm really disappointed, but I'm like, hey, it's fine. I'll let myself be disappointed, but keep on moving on, keep on keeping on, and that's all. I don't know if this is helpful. I don't know if it's this helpful for you, but it's definitely helpful for me. This is me airing out all of the things that I experienced. And maybe as a final help, there are Facebook groups that talk about their experiences as well. Maybe you'd like to join that. That's where I got a lot of the information that I know about these airlines from, and how I kind of mentally prepared for them. So definitely go check that out. If you have any questions, or if you would like to share any ideas or any experiences that you had with this particular airline or any other airline that you've ever applied to, definitely go comment them. And if you have any questions for me about my experience, I'll do my best to reply to all of them as best as I can, so that I can help you. So yeah, that's all. Thank you so much for joining me today. I wish you all the best for your applications in the future. Bye bye.